At Crestview High, no one gave the groundskeeper much thought. Mr. Harlan was just there. Every morning, rain or shine, he pushed his rusted cart filled with gardening tools across the cracked pavement, nodding silently to the occasional student who bothered to look up. He wore the same green jacket year-round, its sleeves rolled to the elbow, revealing weathered arms and hands that looked like they had gripped more than just a rake. His eyes, a piercing gray beneath his old bald cap, seemed to notice everything and nothing all at once. The students called him Moss Man behind his back, assuming he was just some relic of the school grounds, too old to care and too quiet to matter. Teachers didn't engage much either. Principal Dorsey had once referred to Harlan as background help during a staff meeting, and that label stuck like gum under a desk. But Harlan didn't flinch at the indifference. He didn't need thanks or recognition. He came early, left late, and in between, he trimmed hedges, fixed sprinklers, and swept the leaves that never stopped falling. But there was something odd about the way he moved, too precise, too aware, like someone always measuring, calculating, waiting. No one asked about his past, and he never offered. He lived in a small shack behind the football field, and it was said he didn't own a TV or even a phone. Some joked he was ex-Amish. Others figured he was just another poor old man who had nowhere else to go. What no one knew, what no one even imagined, was that Mr. Harlan had once commanded teams in silence across continents, infiltrated enemy camps, and left without a trace. He had been called a ghost, a shadow, a legend by men who only whispered his name. But here, among teenagers and cafeteria bells, he had found peace. Or at least something close to it. And though the school had long stopped noticing him, Mr. Harlan never stopped watching them. He saw the bullied kids, the anxious glances, the subtle threats. He noticed who lingered too long near the lockers and who clenched their fists under the desk. He saw everything. Because while the world may have forgotten who he was, his instincts never did. And he knew, deep down, that someday, they might be needed again. It started with a scream, sharp, sudden, and silencing. Then came the alarm. The shrill, pulsing sound tore through the calm afternoon like a siren in a war zone. Lights flickered, metal doors slammed shut, and the automated voice echoed overhead, "Lockdown. This is not a drill." In classrooms, students dropped their phones, their laughter dying mid-sentence. Teachers rushed to darken windows, lock doors, and herd their students into corners. Chaos swallowed Crestview High in seconds. Some kids cried quietly under desks, others froze, trembling, trying to remember what the protocol was. In the East Wing, someone had seen a man, strange, wild-eyed, shouting. He was holding something. Something metallic. That was all it took to trigger panic. Principal Dorsey locked himself in his office, frantically dialing 911, his hands slick with sweat. Somewhere near the field, Mr. Harlan had just finished trimming a rosebush. At the sound of the alarm, he didn't panic. He didn't ask questions. He simply dropped his shears and moved. While everyone else locked down, Harlan unlocked doors, maintenance hallways only he knew, side passages that led beneath the gym. His body moved with eerie calm, a rhythm that hadn't dulled in decades. As a young soldier, he'd been dropped into jungles and deserts with nothing but instinct and training. Now, those same instincts kicked in. He passed the science wing silently, noting the open janitor closet and a faint dragging sound nearby. The man, unshaven, eyes burning, was inside the gym now, pacing, yelling incoherently. A bat in one hand. Something sharper in the other. Harlan entered through the side unnoticed. No words were exchanged. No threats. Just motion, swift, surgical. The man lunged. Harlan ducked, twisted, and within seconds had the intruder face down, weaponless, his hands zip-tied with cords Harlan carried on instinct, not hope. By the time the police arrived, the danger was over. Officers stormed the gym only to find the suspect restrained and the old groundskeeper sitting quietly on the bleachers, breathing steady. News of the takedown spread like wildfire. Kids peeked from windows, murmuring in awe. Teachers looked at each other in disbelief. No one had seen it. No one had even heard him move. All they knew was that the school was safe, and the man with the rake had done it. The next morning, Crestview High felt different. Students gathered in hushed clusters, replaying what little they knew. Videos surfaced, grainy clips of squad cars, flashing lights, and Harlan sitting on the gym bleachers like nothing had happened. Some swore he had taken down the intruder with his bare hands. Others said he'd used some kind of military technique. Whatever the story, one thing was certain: Mr. Harlan was no ordinary groundskeeper. Principal Dorsey called him into the office for a debrief, but Harlan offered little more than a nod. "I just did what anyone else would have," he said simply. But Dorsey had served, and he recognized something in Harlan's eyes, something most people never came back from. Later that day, a curious junior named Kayla took it upon herself to find out more. A deep dive into public records led to a shocking discovery: James Harlan, formerly Captain James E. Harlan, had once served in a classified division of the U.S. Army. His service file was mostly blacked out, but what was left sent chills down her spine: multiple commendations, a Purple Heart, and a Medal of Valor. He had disappeared from active duty over a decade ago with no public explanation. Kayla posted her findings on the school's forum, and by lunchtime, everyone knew. Teachers apologized in passing. Students whispered, "Thank you," in the hallways. But Harlan never changed. He swept the floors, trimmed the hedges, and fixed a broken faucet without missing a beat. When a local news station showed up to cover the hero janitor, he declined to speak. He wasn't interested in fame or recognition. At a special school assembly, Principal Dorsey tried to honor him publicly, but Harlan politely stepped back and let the applause fall quiet. "Some men run toward danger because they don't know how to run away," Dorsey told the students. Harlan simply returned to the edge of the field where he felt most at home, alone, grounded, quiet. For him, the battlefield was over. But that day reminded him that while his past may have been secret, his purpose was always the same: to protect. And though the world around him had changed, one truth remained: he hadn't forgotten how to fight. He'd just chosen not to. Until someone gave him a reason. The seasons changed at Crestview High, but Mr. Harlan remained the same. Fall leaves gave way to winter frost, and still he showed up before sunrise, broom in hand, moving through the quiet halls like a guardian ghost. Though the headlines had faded and the media had moved on, the students hadn't forgotten. Whispers of "the soldier groundskeeper" became part of the school's folklore. New freshmen arrived knowing his name, even if they had never heard his voice. Yet Harlan never sought the attention. He turned down every interview, ignored social media tags, and refused a ceremony from the mayor. To him, what mattered wasn't what people knew about him, but what they did with the safety he had helped preserve. Over time, a few troubled kids found themselves drawn to him, not because he spoke, but because he listened. One boy, always getting into fights, began showing up early to help Harlan rake leaves. A quiet girl who had once been bullied sat near him during lunch breaks, never speaking, just sitting. He didn't ask questions. He simply made room. When the school built a memorial garden for veterans that spring, Principal Dorsey asked Harlan to say a few words. As always, he declined. But the next morning, students found a small velvet box resting at the foot of the stone monument. Inside was a single medal, worn and faded, with a torn army patch folded beside it. There was no note. But everyone knew who had left it. The gesture said more than a speech ever could. For all his silence, Harlan had taught them something powerful: that real heroes don't wear capes or demand praise. They show up. They protect. They endure. When graduation came, the students honored him in their own way, a standing ovation as he quietly swept the gym floor after the last ceremony. No spotlight. No microphone. Just the man who had once been a ghost in the military, now the heart of a school that had almost forgotten to see him. And though he'd fade back into his shadows, Crestview would never be the same. Because once, when it mattered most, the man everyone ignored reminded them what courage truly looked like. Quiet. Constant. Unshakable.